throughout the entirety of The Way We Weren't, my brain was going, I don't like this. This is a pretty good episode. I don't like that decision. That is a brilliant thing that happened. Really, truly a roller coaster of emotions throughout this one. Having now watched it, I think I've settled on I liked it, but there were a few things that bothered me, and I will, with a spoiler warning, discuss what they are. But for now, this is the 20th episode of the 15th season of The Simpsons, directed by Jim Reardon and Mike B. Anderson. And I don't really care for flashback episodes in general, so straight away there was something that meant that this was never going to be an episode for me. But actually, it wasn't too bad. Marge and Homer tell a story about their first kisses. And Homer tells this story that has more than meets the eye. And I don't really know how much to give away about that, because I feel like some of it was quite obvious, but it wasn't obvious to me for a couple of minutes. So I will not say any more than that at the moment. But in a minute, with a spoiler warning, I will go into more detail. But I have to say, the flashbacks were quite good. It takes place at camp. We get to see young versions of a lot of the other characters in The Simpsons, some of which are the comment Homer made to Lenny and Carl was a bit awkward. But some of them, for example, Mo, I thought his design was pretty great. I liked what they did with his character. And it was quite fun to just see other ones popping up here and there that worked quite well. And the editing between the present day and the past I thought was pretty decent as well. And Homer's line about recounting that his childhood was when it was the 50s or the 70s or the 60s and he couldn't quite settle on a decade, I thought was kind of a nice way of saying that The Simpsons and the characters don't age. He could have told this story, 15 seasons ago. So there were things that I liked about it, but there were things that I didn't like. And I'll discuss those now with a spoiler warning. So I'm going to spoil one thing that might not be a spoiler. I didn't know this going into the episode, but it's in the description on IMDb. So I'm going to say it's a spoiler to be safe. So spoilers from now. When Homer tells his story, it turns out that the other girl is Marge. And that was blatantly apparent by her voice, even though we couldn't see her to begin with. And then when we do see her, she's actually got brown hair. And initially I thought, what are you doing? Why has she got brown hair? That makes no sense. We've seen Marge when she was younger with blue hair. But, well, there is a reason for that, and I feel like it's a really stupid reason. I feel like they were trying to, give a red herring. Who's this mysterious girl? If I remember rightly, we saw her before we heard her speak, so it wasn't obvious it was Marge to begin with. And I feel like they were giving her brown hair to throw us off the scent. But honestly, or it could be so that there was no reason for Homer to have remembered that it was Marge. But that takes me on to my second point. But either way, I feel like the brown hair was just pointless. There'll be other people with blue hair. It's not just going to be Marge. So I feel like it was a bit of a stupid decision. And the other thing that I really didn't like is that there's no way he wouldn't have known Marge's name, or asked her name, or she would have introduced herself with her name. You don't kiss somebody if you don't know their name, but I suppose you do, and some people do, but I just don't believe that he didn't know her name. He gave a fake name, makes perfect sense, but she should have done the same, because then I would have believed the encounter. Whereas I honestly think it doesn't make a lot of sense. Her hair color's wrong and it's so forced. It really is forced. And not knowing her name was just too unbelievable for me. But other than that, it was actually pretty good. And how it ended, which I won't divulge, even though I know I've said spoilers, but I won't say exactly how it ended. But certainly with Homer, I thought it was really moving and really sweet. But also slightly awkward if that hadn't been Marge, and he'd kept that for that length of time from somebody he kissed when he was 10, and it wasn't Marge. That would have been a little bit awkward. Thank goodness it was. So in all, I think it is a good episode. And I say think. I stress that I'm still not 100% sure how I feel about it. Put it this way, it's not my favourite episode, but by no means was it as bad as I thought. There were some things about it that I thought worked quite well. But I've just said there will be other people with blue hair. Yes, there was somebody else with blue hair at the camp. Luann was there. So, yeah, the whole hair thing just didn't make any sense. It just felt like they were trying to cheat the audience with something, but it didn't last very long. If they'd kept that up for the entire episode and then revealed at the end with a surprise that it was Marge, that would have been cool. But we literally didn't know it was Marge for about a minute. And then the character spoke through the flaps and it became very obvious. So, I don't know. It's not the best episode. Some bad decisions were made, I think. But ultimately, it definitely exceeded my expectations.